Heidi ho, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another weekly Sunday market update, brought to you, of course, as always, by Actions to Wealth team. Hi, Shane. How you doing, mate? Anyone else wants to say hi? Please feel free to do so. I'm gleaning by Shane's welcome or hello that everyone can hear me, so that's fantastic. My name's Geoff Pyne, by the way, and I am a senior trader with the Actions to Wealth team. And it is my quest today to give you some journey into my analysis brain. I know that can be a very scary prospect for some people, but let me try and give you an idea as to what I'm looking for the week ahead. As a matter of fact, it's full of opportunity this coming week, I believe, whereas in the past couple, it may not have been the case. Whether that's got to do with the elections that we've seen or anything else that's going on around the world. As we know, there's a fair bit going on around the world, as always. Geopolitically, tensions are on a knife edge, if I can put it that way. I'm not an economic or geopolitical commentator, so I better just shut up on that. This is all about technical analysis, but there are 5 ways that I start my week. When I'm in 5 ways, there's 5 things that I look at when I'm attempting to find mainly directional bias for the week ahead rather than trades per se. Come up with 11. Wow, that's the land of opportunity, perhaps. 11 different possibilities this week, 11 different currency pairs. Let me take you down that road and show you what I'm looking at, and hopefully we can work out how we're going to back a winner or two with the week ahead. All right, first thing that I look at, as I said, there's 5 categories that determine what I'm going to trade or looking to trade this week. And here's the first of them. It is the currency index chart. Now I'm looking at the 8 major currencies, if you like, and what they did last week, how they performed in terms of whether that was a continuation of the trend, whether it was reversal, whether they're at a resistance level, whether they've broken resistance, whatever the case may be. That's what I'm looking for to give me a potential direction for that particular currency. Now, the currency indexes are pretty much weighted against the US dollar, but primarily they are, well, this one is the US dollar. It's comparing a basket full of currencies, predominantly the majors, one would hope, but that is the case. And the others are weighted heavily towards the dollar. So the Aussie, the CAD, pound, Swissy, the Kiwi, the yen, and the euro, yes, they're weighted against each other, but the main emphasis is against the US dollar. So US dollar weighted against itself doesn't quite make sense, but this is what the chart looks like on the dollar index. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row, it has been, well, pretty much on fire for most of that. And we now find ourselves at a level that is interesting. Is it compelling? Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is short term. I don't see any reason why this ends, frankly, at the moment. But what I do see is reason to think it can pause. And at this resistance level, I think that is a case in point. For that reason, I won't say I'm bearish the dollar. That would be a massive overstatement of what I do believe. But what I will say is there is room for this to retrace. So that would be in the back of my mind. So I'm not suggesting dollar weakness per se. I am suggesting that we are at resistance. And when we're at resistance, you'll find that there'll be sellers turn up. Let's look at the Aussie. The Aussie, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these are all going to be the same, right? Because they're heavily weighted against the dollar. So this is going backwards. Tried last week to bounce off this support trend line and failed. And of course, we got a substantial seller bar as the week went on. Hi, Mohammed. Hi, Roberto. Where now for the Aussie dollar, or for the Aussie rather? Well, You see all these rejection areas here. That's exactly where we are at the moment. This little dotted red line, you may not be able to see it on your screens, but it represents support here, resistance here, support here, support here, fail break of support, support again, support again, support again, support again, bounced off that support level big time before we finished up where we are right now, back at that exact same support. So similar to the dollar being at resistance, flip that upside down, you've got an Aussie that is at support, in my humble opinion. It has got a stronger support level below here, and the range that we're tracking with this pair, or with this currency rather, doesn't end till here. So ultimately, I think probably Aussie gets back down towards the 63. This week, maybe not, or early in the week, maybe not, because we are at a support level. The Canadian dollar, unlike the Aussie, has smashed through support and seems to be swinging in the breeze at the moment. And what I mean by that is there doesn't seem to be any support underneath it. If I just go a little bit wider, you can see that support doesn't kick in for quite some time. You know, I'm going back to 2020 here, and the Canadian dollar does look to be in bad shape, I would have to say. So technically, closed very near its low. I can't see any reason why I'd want to be bullish the CAD at the moment. British pound, not dissimilar to the Aussie in some ways. Bad news on Friday, I believe, or Thursday or Friday. Won't support this at all, but the technicals do. So we've had this resistance level, support through here, support through here again, support here, and here we are again, this time at what I'd call a confluence of support, where you've got the horizontal level. And of course, you've got that resistance trend line as well, which has been broken, retested, now retested again. Is it going to hold? Excellent question. But that level's not far away either. So I do read the pound at support. I'll be relying heavily on my good mate and trading buddy Ash to talk to me about the pound tomorrow in terms of what that fundamental announcement was. It was Thursday or Friday, I think, where it was the economic data, the GDP came out and it wasn't good. So that's not going to help the pound, but it is at a strong support level. The Swissy, massive bar there the week before last, and you would be forgiven for thinking that that was going to continue. I certainly thought that was going to continue, and the chart has seen that out as well. But once again, we are at a support level, so potential bounce here. How strong? Good question. Kiwi, again at a support level, has closed below that support trend line, which is interesting, but it also is at a support level. The Japanese yen, well, the Japanese have a saying when the market's rising, but rising unsteadily, if I can put it that way. And they say that the market's rising in agony. I would say the market here is falling in agony, because every time it tries to go low, it bounces off its low. It did that the week before, has done it again this week, or last week rather. Whew, it's a tough one. The yen is a really tough one to get enthusiastic about. However, it did finish the week one of the stronger currencies on the board. So if you have a look at every single other one that we've looked at, they're finishing on or near their lows. This one didn't do that, did bounce off the low. So maybe, just maybe, the yen is worthy of my support again, if I can put it that way. I'll have to find something compelling to get me to trade that. Although I did last week on Swissy yen, and it finished up okay at the end of the day. Euro, also at support, but has broken lots of support in getting to that support level. So yes, I see the big box range. Yes, I see the bottom of the support area. And that leads me back to the first thing that I said. Dollar is at resistance. Everything else, bar the Canadian dollar, seems to be at support. Or the yen's not really at support, but it did give us a good reversal bar last week. So to summarize that, let's go with relative strength is suggesting sell the CAD or continue to sell the CAD, watch the pound, and allow the dollar to come off that resistance area. I think that's where I stand. That probably leads me to a pound CAD buy. That's the bias I'm taking into the week. Just going to show you, and I'll go back to the dollar index here. Have a look at this chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of buying. 2 of those weeks are subsequent to the Trump election. I pointed this out to my my group a couple of weeks ago before the election, trying to get a gauge on what might happen post the election if Trump won. Well, he did, and here's what I gleaned from that. This is the dollar index. So here's the week prior to the election is that red line. The next line is the result when Trump won the election. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish weeks of rallying. The week before the election, we came down, but then the election result, Trump wins in 2016, and we went up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks before we turned that around. The interesting part about that, in my world, is that with the US presidential elections, as we know, the election is some 2 months prior to when the president takes office. That's around about 2 months in my book. So do I see anything turning around as far as the dollar is concerned? Answer, no, I don't. I think that kind of gives us a little bit of a glimpse as to what the market's thinking going into Trump taking office. That's only my opinion and what the market's actually telling me. Let's convert that into another chart. The only thing that didn't change when Trump took office was the S&P 500. Again, that was the election, and wow, that just kept going and going and going. So is that relevant? Not sure, but it's worthy of our thought processes. Gold is, however, something of interest as well. If you look at this chart on gold, once again, going down into the election and then continued for 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 weeks. Coincidence? Maybe. What's gold doing at the moment, guys? Let's have a look. Gold. That's my scalping chart, so you'll have to bear with me on that as I get rid of these. I'll try and get rid of these. There we go. The only difference that I see is that gold was going to, or has been, on a tear, whereas it wasn't. It wasn't on a tear going into the election. But post the election in 2016, let's go back to that. This is what gold did. 7 or 8, 9 weeks, right? I'm just saying, guys, this is something that interests me. Always like looking at history. And maybe, just maybe, gold suffers until Mr. Trump gets office. Just saying. Worthy of thought. Anyway, that's not what we're trying to do this week. But if the direction looks similar to what we saw post the 2016 election, maybe we could just have a think about that. Righto, that's our first journey, or my first journey into what's ahead this week. And I'll come up with pound CAD short. Pound CAD as a buy. That would be my bias. I'm not going to jump into the market right now and buy pound CAD. It may take, and last week it did. It took right up till Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, Friday, before I had 4 trades, in the market early in the week, which didn't trigger. And then, of course, come Friday, they all went where I anticipated they might. So it's a patience game. Right, let's go to some charts. and look at my next criteria as to what I'm looking for the week ahead. I call them game changers. Now, those of you who are familiar with technical analysis will recognize a candle pattern known as a key reversal. That is exactly what I'm looking for, a key reversal bar or candle in the case of these charts. Let me see if I can just get rid of, no, I can't. Yeah, I can. Didn't want to do that. There, that's what I wanted to do. I've marked them on the side here, and the first one is the Canadian dollar versus the Swiss franc. Now, I'll go a little bit larger here so you can get a good idea of what's going on. Tried to break resistance last week and ultimately failed late in the week, as I was talking about. This is a game changer or key reversal bar at a great level, I've got to say. What my game changer bar is, and may differ a little bit to the description of a key reversal bar, is a candle or bar whose high is higher than the previous high. This is a weekly that we're looking at, and closes on or near its low. Now, I use about 1/3 of the candle. If it's closed in the bottom third of the candle, then that to me is on or near its low. So that's a key reversal bar. If we were going the other way, like we are here, the low is lower than the previous week, and the candle closed on, pardon me, or near its high. So that's the brief description. There are other criteria that I use before I take a trade on it, but primarily that's what I'm looking for in the first instance. So that's a key reversal bar. Would I agree with the directional bias on that? Well, I then go back and look a bit deeper into exactly what's going on. And if we have a look at this chart, it would be very, very difficult for us or any technical analyst to say, this is bullish, because it isn't. It's bearish. Been in a downtrend for quite a long time. Long time consolidating as well. But in that consolidation, you can see very, very clearly that every time it hits this level, it bounces off it. And every time it hits this level, it bounces off it. So very much a case of we are trapped in here. And once again, last week, this is a daily chart, we came back inside, and I'm now looking for that to go back to the bottom. So I absolutely agree with the direction, and therefore, providing there's no massive gap in the market tomorrow, I will be looking to trade that short. I'll be looking to get some protection once we hit the bottom of that range, of course. But that's exactly what I'll be looking for on CAD Swiss. That lines up pretty much with what we saw on the indexes as well. CAD Yen is also a game changer bar this week, and CAD Yen, not dissimilar in some ways, but I'll get to these. Both of these pairs qualify for my third analysis tool, which is market structure. The structure in this case being an ascending channel. Big tweezer top sitting there. Is it at a support resistance level that I like, and therefore wouldn't mind trading it? Yeah, look, there is resistance through here, no question. Big sell-off before this, well, consolidation, I'll call it, but it is retracement. I'm not saying for 1 second that I'm going to trade this as in preference rather to CAD versus the Swiss, because I'm not. Monthly pivot's got a bit to do with that, because we've got a support level directly underneath us. But as far as a directional bias is concerned, and a game changer bar, that qualifies as it did last week, which didn't trigger. But the reason I didn't trade it last week was the monthly pivot. That remains the case. Euro pound is the next of the game changer bars. Sorry for all of these lines over my chart, guys. I can't get rid of them all at the same time. And they refer probably to some other chart. It's just that the market scanner doesn't get rid of them for me. But here you can clearly see that this candle the low is lower than the previous week, closed near its high. That qualifies us for a game changer bar. Is it agreeing with the big boss, as I call it, the big boss being the monthly chart? I'm going to say this range here, which once again is perfectly clear to me. I should never say perfectly clear, because what's clear to some people is not clear to others. But that certainly looks like a ceiling, and that certainly looks like a floor to me. Where are we? We're on the floor. Where do we want to be? Well, we're on the floor. We want to be on the ceiling, right? This game changer bar, if I can go back to that, is suggesting that we want to go to the ceiling, isn't it? So it's hard to argue with that from a directional bias point of view on the big picture. On the intermediate picture, it is easy to argue that, because this is in a downtrend. So I'd be cautious of that. I would also be pointing out that the monthly pivot and this support or previous support level could well become resistance. So although it does fit two criteria for me, I don't think it's the one. It's not the one I want, euro pound long. So I'll be dismissing that. I don't think there are any more, are there? No. So I can go, there's the first two that I'm using. I'm using the currency indexes, and then I go back and use the game changer bars to give me a directional bias. So I've now got a strong bias, CAD Swiss short, from the market structure, sorry, from the game changer bars. CAD Swiss short, pound CAD long. Similar, right? Not dissimilar. And maybe a correlation there in risk. So I'd have to watch that. But they're the two ideas I've got in my head straight away. Now, the third is probably my favorite, and I pointed out a couple of those already. And I'm going to go to this area over here. Oh, there's that pound Swissy I was talking about that didn't trigger until late last week. That's not what I wanted to show you, of course. CAD Swiss is what I wanted to show you. Now, right now, all I'm looking for is structure in the market. That could be anything for me. It could be a big horizontal level of resistance or support where prices tried and failed many times before, just like I showed you on that bigger chart of euro pound, where we're coming off the bottom looking for the top. That's exactly what I'm looking for. They could be triangles, they could be rectangles, they could be anything but a circle, frankly, because I haven't worked out how circles go yet. In fact, I haven't seen too many. V-shaped recoveries, all of those things that I'm looking at. So they've got to stand out. This one does. It really does stand out to me, because we've got this support level over here. We've got this resistance level. As I pointed out, this is the weekly chart. That is a dead set range, box range, if you like. And if I go to the daily chart, it's even clearer. Well, maybe if I go a little bit wider, it's clearer. It's just been doing this over and over and over and over and over again. As soon as it gets to this level, or even these levels here, I'm looking to trade it short. So I'd be more than willing to trust that bar on CAD Swiss, providing, as I said, there's not a massive gap in the market tomorrow. That could completely change things. I don't expect there will be, because I haven't heard any massive news overnight, but anything could happen. So CAD Swiss is most definitely confirmed structurally and game changer bar wise. The one thing that makes it even sweeter is the fact that CAD is disappearing off the currency index chart, right? And the Swissy, not saying I'm bullish, but I'm not bearish either on the Swissy. Mohammed, CAD yen, I did discuss CAD yen, and CAD yen, I'll quickly go back to it for you. If I can find it. Where have they all gone? Here we are. CAD yen. The thing I don't like about CAD yen is only minor. It's the monthly pivot dead ahead. So if CAD yen were looking to come down, it may find a little bit of a hiccup here at the monthly pivot. That's the only thing I don't like about it. And I favour CAD Swiss for that reason. No other reason. As I said, CAD, the yen does look like it has a bit of bounce in it, but I do believe that CAD Swissy is a better trade. That's the only reason. And there it is. The next one is, funnily enough, CAD yen, and we've discussed it. Both structurally sound, but the monthly pivot there on CAD yen has got my attention. Swissy yen is next. We'll bring Swissy yen onto the chart. And the weekly on Swissy yen is a little bit different because what we've got going on here, sorry, pen required. What we've got going on here is two things, really. You could be forgiven for thinking that we've got a head and shoulders sitting there. If that were the case, then your neckline's probably down here somewhere. So we're a long way from the neckline. We've been through it actually once, which is interesting. I would, under those circumstances, if it wasn't the yen and it wasn't early doors, I probably would have placed that order there short and looked for a massive reward. Yen, as I said, really, really difficult to trade, but we are now at a resistance area. And the second part of the structure, I better put this in properly. The second part of the structure is this rising or broadening price pattern, if you like, or what I see as a broadening price pattern. To me, that's a structure. So we've come above it, we're now back below it, and we've retested it with last week's bar. So I think that's interesting on Swissy yen. This was one of the orders that we took last week as well with my group. So I think that's got a lot of potential downside. If I'm not in that trade, then I would be suggesting a lower high here may well be what you're looking for. Great game changer bar there on the daily chart from Friday as well. So I do like Swissy yen short also. Next one on the radar, let me get rid of all these drawings, is Euro versus the Aussie. Now, Euro versus the Aussie, let's go back to the weekly chart, is once again a bit of a box range, but it's a little bit more than that. If I, well, the box range you can see, I'm sure. It's around about there, and we have bounced off the bottom. And this is how I gauge these things, right? Why have I got a directional bias? Well, we've come off the bottom looking for the top. So there's your target, or there's my target. What do I need to trade that? Well, I need a reversal pattern, which is a double bottom, and I've got a key reversal bar there. Once I've seen that, I'm looking for confirmation of that. So the confirmation comes in the form of, for me, most times a higher low. Is that a significant higher low that I can actually hang my head off and say, I want to trade that, looks fantastic? No, not really. But I can now transfer that idea to the daily chart, and the daily chart, there's your double bottom, there's your higher high, there's your higher low, there's your higher high, here's your other higher low perhaps. So, well, it certainly looks like it to me. So it's the second higher low out, and they are generally pretty reliable. So although I'm a fan of the Australian dollar, I would have to concede that this does look bullish to me. And the structure is the one that I'm most interested in. I don't see a trade there, frankly, at the moment, but that's not what I'm trying to do at the moment. I'm trying to give myself a bias for the week ahead. Then I'll look for setups, maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday, if they fall. We shall see. Euro CAD is next, I believe. I won't spend too much more time on these guys. They're all very much similar. Now, when I look at this chart, I see this range, which has been broken. But what a bar I see last week. Big reversal bar, very, very similar to the yen index, right? Then I'll have a look at if we can see that that's come off a good support level, or are we at a good support level? I would use that trend line there, which is suggesting to me that this range is intact and price does not want to go lower than that. So I'd be looking for this, similar to, very, very similar to Euro Aussie. I'd be looking for this to fill that gap again. So the range to close. How would I gauge that? Well, I want price to come back here and give me a higher low before I can trade it. But most definitely on the radar. Euro yen's next. We've still got a few to go, but they're all really interesting in my world, that is. This one, the structure here, probably this horizontal level, I think I've chosen that for that reason. It looks pretty clear to me. So that level there, once again last week, this was on my radar big time because I've got a candle pattern that suggests that this is a clear false break of that horizontal level. Really, the criteria that to meet that is break the level, consolidate above it, come back below it, and then get a reversal or a retest bar of that level. That's exactly what happened. And like I said, all week last week, I was looking for that to convert, and then on Friday, bang, finally the trade was triggered without me, I've got to say. So I see that continuing. Once again, the Friday gave us a game changer bar to the downside. So I'm bearish euro versus the yen. Euro versus the dollar. If I can find it, it'll be up the top here, won't it? Euro versus the dollar. We've already pointed out the euro index and the dollar index. That's why. Because once again, we've got a box. I'm not suggesting that we go right back up here because I think that's unlikely in the current climate. Maybe after Trump takes office, as we've seen earlier, that might be possible. But I see this as a potential bounce area. Now, you can get tricked by these because this could go straight through here tomorrow morning without any problem whatsoever. But that gives me a very, very good advantage because if that's going to be the case and I'm not on board euro dollar short, then I need to wait until price comes back above that line. And that tells me, once that happens, that there are buyers around, not sellers at this level. So if that's the case, then that's exactly what I'll be looking for, either a bounce off here and a higher low or a false break of here and a higher low. So euro dollar, definitely on the watch list, but I'll be taking profit very quickly if I do find a trade on that. Kiwi versus the CAD. We've said that the CAD looks very, very weak. The Kiwi, not a game changer bar there last week, but certainly if you have a look at this structure, which is an ascending channel, you can see that we've already bounced off the bottom of that. So what would I be looking for? You got it, a higher low in here to trade this back up towards the top. Kiwi versus the Swissy. This one's nowhere near as obvious as it, I'd have to say. But what it is this very, very strong level here on the weekly chart, you can see, is now holding strongly as support. So didn't like it down here. It did go down quite substantially, of course. Didn't like it down there, went back above that strong support level, which has now acted as resistance once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So potential upside here, in my humble opinion. No setup right now for me, but again, a higher low would get me interested. Kiwi versus the dollar is the second last of my structural indicators. and probably don't need to point that one out to you guys. It's pretty much a rinse and repeat of what we've seen many, many times. Certainly with the dollar. I would actually prefer this probably to euro dollar. And that's more of a gut feel than anything else, to be fair. But I'll be watching this. Kiwi versus the dollar, once again, a higher low or a false break of that level. The last one on the structural list is US dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And this for different reasons. And the reason is the structure is broken. So that long term, 2 years of it, 2 years plus of it, this consolidation on dollar versus the CAD has been smashed. It's been smashed and retested. Now, we saw a weak CAD on the indexes. We saw a dollar at resistance. Does that mean that we trade US dollar CAD short? No, it does not. What it does mean, though, is a little bit of retracement, maybe. If we could retest that area, fantastic. I actually don't see that happening, but if it did happen, then I think you're in a buy zone. Catherine, how are you? Seasonal bearish on the CAD. Yeah, look, the CAD does look to be in a horrible mess, I'd have to say. So that's why CAD Swiss short is my favorite this week, I think. So that's the structural things that I look at. They're the most prominent, without any shadow of a doubt, for me during the week. And I've now got a bias on 11 pairs due to those structural positionals. So that's what we'll be looking. That's number 3. Number 4 that I look at as I go into the week looking for a directional bias is my own system, the slingshot. I'm looking for candle patterns that I can trade. Guess what? I've got that many. Where can I put that? I've got that many this week. 0. Not one slingshot candle pattern on the weekly chart has attracted my attention. So I won't be going there until the daily charts. I'll go back to the daily charts. Often, if I can't see these structures, I'll go to the daily charts anyway before the week starts, but not often. If I've got these structural positions that look likely to me to take place throughout the week, then that's where I stay and go to the dailies as of tomorrow, see what the daily candles do tomorrow. So 0 on slingshot candle patterns. And now the very last thing they'll look at, which is the very first thing that my trading buddy looks at, Ash, are the fundamentals. Now, I can't decipher fundamentals. I'm hopeless at it. So therefore, I defer to Ash to do that work for me. Not for me, he does it for himself. But I tag along and listen to every single word he says about fundamentals, because that's his thing. So I wait until tomorrow for that. So there are that is my analysis done for the week. I now have to sit back and wait for something to pan out. Or if there's no big gap in the market tomorrow, I will be looking very, very much like a CAD Swiss bear, and I'll be selling the CAD Swiss on the basis of that weekly game changer bar. So that's me, guys. Hopefully you've gleaned some, I don't know what it is, gleaned some sort of assistance, I suppose, as to how you might approach your week. It really is your own thing, if you find market structures interesting, as I do, then fantastic. Have a good look at them. If you find candle patterns interesting, great. Get to know them, master them. But this is just a directional bias that I'm looking at, not necessarily a trade. But in the case of CAD Swiss, it will be a trade tomorrow. So I hope you got something out of that. And I look forward to seeing you next time when I'm doing, I don't think I'll be doing another one before the end of the year. So if you want to catch up with myself and Ash, and don't normally do it, in Trading Buddies every Monday at 2:55. 2:55? Oh, can't remember the time Singapore now. It's 3 hours before 8, so 3:55. each Monday. Ash and I actually trading 1 minute charts, which is kind of cool. You're welcome, Roberto. Yep, 3:55. That's right, Mohammed. Thank you for being my timekeeper if I need one. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Hope you've had something out of Weekly Sunday Market Update. Thank